Okay, there are a few. If you're talking specifically about technology, the biggest mistake is using free images online. So they find a free image website like Pixabay, and then they use that on their blogs, their websites, that kind of thing. And there is no such thing as a free image website. If you go onto the terms and conditions of any of those any of that I've seen, they always say they take no responsibility for copyright ownership. So anybody can upload usually to these sites. And so if I upload one of your pictures and then somebody else uses it, you haven't given authority.
Oh,
and so what happens is, what happens is if somebody then uses it in good faith, you think it's free because the website says free to use. Well, it's free to download, but the terms still say you might have to pay copyright licensing fees.
So on that point, I had an incident yesterday that actually I was looking for a specific image and it was Australian dollars, right? And it actually said for business and, quickly, what was the other word there? But it actually gave me the indication that I could use it for ongoing based on the fact that if I contributed, a coffee, an amount, that I could use that image. Is that not correct?
So which site were you on?
I was on Pixabay.
No, Pixabay is very dangerous. And I've actually gone and I've had a look at their chat logs, and you'll see people emailing them and saying, help me, I've got a letter of demand from Getty Images for over $1,000 for one image I used off Pixabay. And Pixabay says it's your responsibility to make sure it's not an infringing image. And so I actually do have a stock image site that I use personally and I recommend to my clients. It's $99 for up to 200 images. And I mean, $50 an image. Rather pay the $99 than get stung by Getty Images, because the latest letter of demand I got was $1,250 for just one image.
So why have we had this? What is it? I mean, I can go out and take a picture of something, right?
Yep.
I can put it on my site because I've taken the picture. But if somebody else comes along and uses that picture, that image, what does that do in this field of technology, i.e. Facebook, websites, the way that everything is going? How do we actually control that?
Yeah, so they would be infringing your copyright, but as an individual, we usually don't really care. Yeah. But Getty Images, who owns more images than any other company, they own millions of images. They've actually got robots, or bots they call them, that trawl the internet, and they look and they compare your image to their images on their database. And this because I asked them one time, I was on the phone with them and I said, how do you find these so-called infringing images? And they've got bots that troll the internet. So even if you used it 3 years ago and have taken it down, you're still at risk of getting a letter of demand from Getty Images.
Wow. I mean, that's using a pretty prestigious image, isn't it, really, when you're looking at it from that angle? So great point, though. I love it. Love it. That's
and that actually, I think you posted the link to my free little course on what to do if you receive a Getty Images letter of demand. But the best thing to do is don't risk it. Don't use that Pixabay image.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I will no longer use it. I'll pay my $99. And is that the same with? I think it's iStock or something like that. There's so many out there. I've got a book with a full page of different places. Is it better to buy the image? Is it better to actually, buy it and own the image because you've done the right thing?
Yeah, so what happens is you buy a license to use the image. So you don't actually own it. You are allowed to use it. Yeah. So you couldn't use it, for example, as part of your trademark. You couldn't register it as part of your trademark.
True.
Most of them also have limitations that a third party couldn't use it. So if you were my web designer and you took those images and put them on my website, I can't use those images unless I've paid my license fee. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Okay.
They think, well, if my web designer puts the photos on the website, that must be fine. But as the business owner, you need to make sure you've got the right license in place.
Yeah, that's a very good point that you make there, because I was talking to a lady yesterday and I'm helping her out with some images. And I said, as long as you've got the license and you have bought this product, I will then use it, because I'm not going to use it for building your website. if it's a freebie off somewhere. So she actually said, huh, what? And I said, yeah, you're going to need to go back. And even if it was asking the specific company that is using that image, is it their image? So I was on the right path when I was saying that to her.
Absolutely, and she needs to keep a record as well of the license agreement, because I've heard of Getty Images sending out these letters of demand, and then somebody saying, well, I've got a license agreement, and then they say, prove it. So she managed to, get her payment thing where she had paid, and then she sent it off, and then they backed off. So it's all very well to say, yes, I paid for it, but if you can't prove it, they're still going to come after you. So you've got to, this is where I really want to train people to be legally savvy.
That is a brilliant bit of information. I am so glad I brought that point up.
Now, the site that I use,
go on.
The site that I use, the 99 Club, why I use it, it's the only site that I've come across, and I don't know all of them, but it's the only one I've come across that put their money where their mouth is. They say that if you get into trouble and you get a letter of demand, they will help you run your defense, and they'll pay up to $10,000 towards your defense.
That is worth the $99 on itself.
That is worth the $99. So even if you look at it as litigation insurance.
Yeah. Look, I do know of another incident, and it's moving over a little bit, but he's actually a painter, and he's somebody that paints brilliant images. Yet his images have been shown with friends. It's got into hands of what he believed to be a legal place. They've now sold it to a different company, and that particular first company is now closed down. And now he's got this problem where they're just displaying everything of his online. So, you really don't know what's happening in the background until you've got that proof of evidence, do you?
That's absolutely right. And we've got to be so careful these days. And people say, oh, it's only one Facebook post that I'm using this on. Doesn't matter.
No.
And it also doesn't matter if you're not making any money out of it. So this is the other thing clients have said to me, well, it's on a community Facebook page, or it was on a blog and I don't earn any money from my blog. It doesn't matter. That's not the criteria.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. That is a high five, bit of information, everybody. You really need to get your head around this, understand this, because it's real. It's very real.
Absolutely. And I'll post after this. I'll send you the link for that 99 Club. That's what I use. I feel safe. Yeah.
Thank you. We will follow the guidance of you because you are the one that understands. Let's move on to our next question. I mean, we could spend an hour on that.
Yeah, and I'm the one, who had a client come in and say, I've actually got 10 images that they say are infringing, and it was $1,200 per image.
Oh.
$12,000 demand for 10 images.
Oh.
No small business can afford that. And I know my first business, this is my second law firm. When I was in my 20s, I opened up a law firm, and I had no business nous. I didn't know what I was doing. And that one folded. And honestly, I went bankrupt. I had to sell my house, get rid of my pets, move thousands of miles away. I know that emotional impact of a business loss. And that's why I'm so passionate that I don't want anybody else to go through what I had to go through.
And that's the thing that makes you so authentic. I'll honor you here because you've experienced it, you've witnessed it, you've felt the emotional instability that happens with all of this, and you can share it on. That's absolute accolades to you, Catherine, to be able to, be in this place now for us to have the benefit of that, because you could have gone to England, you could have gone anywhere. We in Australia and Brisbane, I'm very, very fortunate to have that knowledge. No, that's what it's all about.
Your words are very kind. And it's taken a long time for me to be able to say to people, you know what, my first business failed. And it doesn't matter. We're all learning.
Totally. I know you're on a time limit. We've got one more question to go.
Absolutely.
You see a lot of standards or templates or contracts online. Is it a good idea for a small business to make use of these? And I can imagine this is going to be a curly one as well.
To be honest, I see the back end when people have got, into a trouble or a business dispute, and then I have to try and enforce their standard term contract that they found online. In some cases, the standard terms they found online are worse than not having any terms at all.
Oh gosh. I've not used one, but
One particular client, I looked at it and I went, why did you give all these guarantees? That's way beyond what the Australian consumer law requires.
Wow.
And so she thought she had to be, because that was what was in the standard contract. And I just feel also the kind of businesses that I'm in contact with, your clients don't want a cookie cutter approach. They don't want to be treated as a standard number. And this is why I do what I do, because I don't want to treat you as a number. And I see the terms and conditions and the business contracts really needing to reflect your business relationship that you have with someone. Your relationship with your client who you're just doing that website for could be different from another web designer.
Correct.
The way that you do things could be very, very different. So I have one client, Katie, who actually manufactures pet food. And when I did her terms and conditions, I said to her, my biggest fear when I buy a new brand of pet food, because it's expensive, is will my fussy dog like it? And she said, well, if the fussy dog doesn't like it, I'm happy to give them the money back. And I said, well, you haven't put that anywhere in. She had drafted some ideas for the term. I said to her, that would make me want to buy it. I said to her, but how would it work in practice? And I actually brainstormed with my clients. And she said, well, you know what? Oh, she didn't know. Maybe they could send it back. They could throw it away. I said to her, why don't we get them to say, if you give them the money back, they will drop that food off at the RSPCA. Perfect. She has not had one single return since she put that into her contract. She had not had one request for a refund.
Oh,
she's now taken.
Brilliant! I love it. I love it.
So it depends what you're trying to do with the terms and conditions. And I find a lot of people with those standard terms, I hate them because they can get you into trouble. But a lot of people don't even understand what they mean. Honestly, I would much rather that you just went and did a bullet point yourself and went, this is how I think it's going to work. These are the 3 things I'm going to do. These are the 3 things you're going to do. And if it goes wrong, this is how we're going to resolve it. Especially if you're getting into a business deal with somebody, like a collaboration. You know, you're going to create the website. I'm going to provide the legal input. If it goes wrong, we'll share the IP, or you can go ahead and use it later. Whatever it is, just sort of brainstorm a little bit. So like I did with Katie, I brainstormed what was the client's biggest barrier and how we could turn that around and show her personality and her individuality.
Gotcha. Look, Catherine,
you can spend $50 on a standard contract. I don't think it's worth it.
No, and a great point. Again, that's another hour's conversation we can go into. One quick question I will ask, and we'll bring this into a close. Because we have this ability now to be able to connect it so widely with different people and that on the internet. And, you know, this is happening for me. Something is actually opening up. Intellectual property, is it worldwide? Is it Australia-wide? Is it refined to just, you know, your little niches? Can you just elaborate where that impacts across the big wide section?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jan. With things like the registered rights, like trademarks, well, you can use a trademark without having it registered, but to secure it, you need to have it registered. Trademarks, patents, and registered designs, they are per country that you register it in, or you can register it, you know, throughout Europe or whatever. But with copyright, this is my favorite IP right, because one, it is free, woohoo, something for nothing, and it is international.
Okay.
So provided you haven't copied somebody else's stuff or modified it, when you create something new, the copyright automatically comes into existence. And I've actually got our best copyright tip, which I can send you, how to mark all your work that you create with a copyright symbol. Now that doesn't create the
I'm excited.
It doesn't create the protection. The protection already exists, but it puts people on notice.
Yeah.
So if you sent out a checklist that I used in my business, and I thought, sure, this is a great checklist, I'm going to send it on to my friend. If it's got the copyright symbol and your name on it, I'm much less likely to do that. That's just human nature. People are much less likely to pass it on. And if it does get passed on, you know, when it shouldn't, people again are much less likely to make misuse of it. They were more likely to come to you and say, Jan, I've seen this checklist. I'm really interested in engaging your services.
Yeah.
And so it just puts people on notice that it's not what people think is abandoned or orphaned works out there. Just because it doesn't have a copyright symbol does not mean somebody doesn't own it. But if you own it, put your mark on it, It's like, you know, the old days where they used to brand
Yep.
sheep. Well,
Yep.
they still do. That's all
They do, yeah.
This is my book. Yeah.
That is a superb comment. I absolutely love chatting to you on this line. I'm hoping we can do it again in some other snippets down the track. Because
We absolutely could.
Because for the simple reason, it's knowledge that we, as individuals, all need to know. Catherine Warburton, it's an absolute honour to be chatting with you, and I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me on this chat, despite it should have been live.
Thank you so much, Jan. I appreciate the invite.
You're welcome, and we'll chat again, and we'll build it another day. Thanks, Catherine.
Absolutely.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.